This here is going to be a review where we're going to review the Stihl Supercut 22 weedeater head. Build quality, I give it a good for build quality. It's designed well for what it's intended to do, and I believe it may well be intended to be used to encourage users to rev their machines up harder, because we all know that's the best way to use a weed eater, especially if you've just spent over $1,000 on it, is to make sure you use a head on it. That means you've got to rev it to red line if you want any not that they've got red lines, but rev it to red line if you want any string to come out, not something that just feeds it out at like lower, more moderate RPM, just to make sure that people are being careful. You got to get used to revving to red line to every time you want a bit of extra string, so as you get more practice at being careful, not hitting people with stones and stuff when you're out doing your job. So build quality good. I'll explain how it works just briefly. So there's a little floppy doodle in it that goes blap 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 with the weight. It's centrifugally activated. The string doesn't do it. There's a little thing in the middle. It's like this spoon, right? It's like this spoon, and it's got a heavy end and a light end. And you spin it, it's going around and around. The heavy end's going to go out. So the heavy end goes out, and this other end of the spoon, that drops, and then there's a little hooky thing, a little hooky catch. A hooky catch like that, it's much smaller. That hooks on the end of the spoon, and then when it spins around, and then the spoon goes out, whoa, whoops, it's dropped a bit, and then it cycles around one, like it's an eighth of a rotation or something like that, one of its ratchety things. Build quality is pretty good. But, yeah, I think it's designed for people who want to rev their machines out super hard, not people who just want to, people who have maybe been at it for a while and they like to just spin the machine as fast as is necessary, but not actually faster, in order to get optimum work done. So yeah, there goes my review of that stuff. Would I recommend it to BH? I think for a certain kind of individual, yes, I would. If you're the kind of person who just always goes touch the wall full throttle all the time, then maybe this is for you. I'm not sure. Personally, I just got the FS 250, the big boy with 40cc, and that's not an appropriate way to be using a 40cc machine, to my way of thinking. Or particularly not with the clientele I've got, like the number of windows. That it's all like awkward places, hillsides right above houses, all this kind of stuff. Like there's super high chances of injuring someone, or more specifically, property damage, or like hitting someone's pet dog or something with stuff that goes flying off. So I always try and keep everything contained, even though I'm using an open system. Like a weed eater is an open system, not like a mower which has got a deck over it, which we call a chassis, of course. But yeah, it's a chassis-free system. There's probably one component of this that's called chassis. Anyway, it's well built, can't fault them on that. Well balanced, spins well. The height's nice, the cut height's nice. The profile of the bottom is excellent. Just about better than a speed feed. The size, slightly larger than the big speed feed. Excellent size. The amount of string it takes, adequate. The fact that you've got to chop it in half and feed them both in, it's a little bit awkward relative to other systems, but I would forgive it that if it allowed you to select the length of line you wanted easily, because that changes. Like there's another thing we do us commercial residential people, we got things like steps that we got to clean the weeds from inside the steps. Some customers, they don't want you to spray their steps. Sometimes some contractors don't want to spray steps because they don't want any dealing with spray. So what they do is you let the line go super long, and you put the head in where it's going to do the cutting while it's not even spinning. You give it one little blip, and that moment in between when it's going fast and when it isn't, it really gets in there. It's got to go from 0 to blip blip, kind of flip flip flip, and it gets in there into the corners of those steps, which we want to do because we want to leave the place looking satisfactory for our customers. So it doesn't facilitate doing that particular task easily either, which is, if I'm using a weed eater to do a bunch of mowing, chances are there's steps there. Like probably in over 80% of our places there's steps. Not all of them we use a weed eater on, but an awful lot. Like it's very common, especially people who aren't so house proud. And some people are very house proud, and they won't let any weeds grow on their stairs. They take care of themselves. There's my review of the Stihl Supercut 20/2 warning Achtung. I think it's a good product in terms of doing what the manufacturers intended it to do. Yeah. So it's my first video on this channel. I've got some other old channels, but they kind of keep changing. Peace out, y'all.